I'm Scott Laren P. Rosales. Together I'm joined with Jomich Jovin and Salcedo and Leonard Andre R. Samaniego to discuss the final term case study for CCS 109.
Dangal greetings everyone, Dangal greetings sir. My name is Jomich Jobin and Salcedo and I'm going to explain the task 1. For the task 1, the SDLC project plan prelim integration. Number 1, identify the SDLC model you will use. I use is waterfall. And then to explain this, the waterfall SDLC model is used for the SSIS because it follows a structured linear and sequential development approach that fits well with the university's stable and well-defined workflows. Each phase requirements gathering, design, implementation, testing, deployment, and maintenance is completed fully before moving to the next, ensuring clarity, control, and consistency. Since student processes such as enrollment, grades, payments, and records follow fixed university policies, requirements are predictable and change are minimal, making waterfall the most appropriate and reliable methodology. And then to explain why I choose this model. Waterfall is chosen because Koyo Tech University already operates with standardized procedures, making it easy to document requirements upfront and follow a strict step-by-step development process. The approach supports detailed documentation and formal approval at each phase, reducing risk, errors, and miscommunication among departments. Since SSIS modules like enrollment, grades, and clearance rarely change, a sequential SDLC ensures predictability, stability, and alignment with institution policies matching the workbook's recommendation for structure and large-scale school systems. And now let's go for the activities per SDLC phase. For the number 1 is the planning. Planning phase, the team identifies existing problems in manual student services system, set clear objectives, define the project scope, identifies stakeholders, and develop a timeline, budget, and risk management. And then for the analysis phase, the team gathers detailed requirements through interviews, surveys, and observations, review current workflow, identifies inefficient, and documents both functional and non-functional requirements. And then for the design phase, all collected requirements are converted into technical system blueprints, including interface design, workflow diagram, ERDs, and DFDs, forming the foundational for development. And then for the implementation. During the implementation phase, developers begin coding the SSIS modules, integrating the database, and conducting initial unit tests to ensure each component function correctly. And then for the test phase, verifies the modules work together seamlessly through integration, system, and user acceptance testing, ensuring reliability, security, and accuracy. And then for the deployment. For the deployment phase, the system is installed on the university server or cloud, student data is migrated, user receive training, and the system becomes fully operational. And then finally, the maintenance phase focuses on monitoring performance, fixing issues, applying updates, strengthening security, and ensuring the SSIS continues meeting university needs over time. And then for the task 2, system modeling, midterm integration. Here we have a student service information system or the SSIS. Enrollment processes is used in the use case diagram, and then this is our use case diagram. To explain this, the use case diagram for the SSIS enrollment process show how student register staff and the cashier interact with the system to complete enrollment. The main actor is the student, log in, select subject, submit enrollment, and proceed to payment after approval. The registrar validates prerequisite, schedules, and availability, before confirming enrollment, while the cashier verifies payment. The system updates records, generates the certificate of registration or COR, capturing the entire enrollment workflow. And then we have the activity diagram, which is the enrollment process. And then to explain this, the activity diagram begins with the student logging into the SSIS and selecting subject for enrollment. The system automatically checks for prerequisite, conflicts, and availability before forwarding the request to the registrar. Once approved, the student proceeds to payment, which is validated by the cashier module. Upon successful payment, the system marks the student as officially enrolled and generate the COR, completing the process in a clear and structured activity flow.
Now moving forward to the data flow diagram, starting with the level 0 context diagram. So of course, this diagram just gives us the context or the surface level data flow of the supposedly system of Tech University, wherein the uh, entities, students, cashier, registrar, department, and admin interacts within the central system, which is uh, student the Student Services Information System of Tech University. And now moving forward to the level 1, this gives us a more detailed or specific processes of the system itself. So basically, it's a breakdown. This involves the user authentication, enrollment, payment processing, and clearance processing. This also involves the data stores, which are the users, enrollment records, student records, and transactions. This also involves like some kind of report generation in order to report back to the admins.
Greetings everyone, I'm Leonard Andy Arsamaniego, and today I will briefly explain the architectural structure of our Student Services Information System. So first is the class diagram. So first let's look at how the system is built. Our class diagram revolves around a main parent class called the user. This holds shared data like password and emails. So from this parent, we branch into specific roles, the student and the admin user. This design is efficient because both roles inherit the ability to log in without us writing the same code twice. So the student can view grades and enroll in classes, and the admin manages accounts and processes transactions. We also defined how data relates to each other. For example, we use a composition relationship between departments and courses. This means a course is entirely dependent on a department, and if a department is removed, its courses are also removed too.
And now moving forward to the system design. So this involves the UI or UX wireframe and the database design. So for the UI, as you can see here, this is made through Figma. So it is a consistent layout with consistent fonts or typefaces. Nothing too uh, extravagant. Basically, it's simple. It's readable, easily easily read for various age across various ages or and it also provides a greater accessibility because it has larger fonts, larger icons, so it can be easily understood. Moving forward with the database design, so the database design is somewhat based on the ERD, based on the data flow diagram that we have shown earlier. So this contains the ERD and of course the tables itself. So the ERD contains the 6 tables, namely the enrollments, clearances, users, students, transactions, and the subjects. And as you can see, they consist of their own primary keys and of course foreign keys in order to be related to each other. And this implements a 3NF normalization, so it doesn't have that much of redundant columns and data across the tables of the database.
Moving forward to the software testing plan, so we will execute a 5-stage testing plan. So the first is unit testing. So we start small by testing individual functions. And for example, we will test the login screen to ensure it blocks invalid passwords and empty fields. Second is integration testing. Next, we check if different modules correctly. We need to verify that when the registrar uploads a grade, it appears to the student portal immediately. Next is system testing, and then we test the entire workflow. We'll simulate a full enrollment cycle from selecting subjects to payment to ensure all components work. Next is acceptance testing. Once the functions work, we bring in actual users. We will check if the system is easy to navigate and if the printed documents are accurate. And lastly, for the performance as well as the security. So first is the performance. Finally, we will stress test the system to handle 2,000 concurrent users and secure the database against hacking attempts like injection.
And then for the task 5, the ethical and legal evaluation. Student data privacy. Student data privacy concerns the protection of sensitive information such as grades, personal identifiers, and financial records stored in the SSIS. If privacy is compromised, student may face identity theft, emotional distress, or unauthorized exposure of their academic records. Stakeholders affect including student, registrar staff, administrators, and the IT department. And then the violation also risks non-compliance with the RA 10173, leading to the legal consequences for the institution. To address this issue, the university must implement encryption, role-based access control, secure authentication, and regular privacy impact assessments to ensure the sensitive data is handled responsibly and safely. And then to the unauthorized access. Access occurs when an individual gain entry into the SSIS without valid credential, allowing them to alter grades, manipulate payments, or view confidential records. This affects student, faculty, registrar, cashier, and IT team by compromising trust and system integrity. Consequences include academic dishonesty, financial fraud, and operational disruption. To prevent such risks, the system must use multi-factor authentication, enforce strong password policies, maintain detained access log, and deploy intrusion detection system to monitor suspicious activities. And then for the data retention rule. Data retention rule address how long student record should be stored and how they should be securely disposed of. Failure to comply with the proper retention policies can lead to data breaches, unauthorized access to outdated records, or violation of regulatory standards. Stakeholders affected includes students, the records office, and administrator, and the IT personnel. To resolve this, the university must establish clear retention schedules, use secure storage and archiving system, automated the deletion of expired records, and regularly audit data stored practices to ensure compliance with institutional and legal policies.